So this combination of cards is like an idea that was recently brought to my attention to whereas I thought, what would what would happen if I put this and that in this deck instead of using these cards? Because BAVSARGRA, I feel like BAVSARGRA is a very strong deck. Like I feel like it's very much tier 2 playable, that it has a chance of beating tier 1 decks, that has a chance of doing very well in tournament, but it feels like it's missing certain cards. Like it still feels like it doesn't have enough support. Granted, it technically only has one wave of support, but that one wave is really good, but it still feels like in the deck you're missing cards. Like you're missing a secondary card to call off of BAVSARGRA's ability besides Trick Moon. Like what if you don't have the Trick Moon? What are you calling? Like what's another excellent card that you can call off of this? Or what are you playing in the deck? So basically what I thought was like, this is just like an amalgamation of, well, the whole play of swing for 48k, 2 crits is very nice, but that only makes your Vanguard threatening. Like, what if I made the rear guard columns just as threatening as the Vanguard? Like, what gives me a better chance of winning the game? And that's basically what came to fruition was this deck. So let's get into the profile. For, I guess, what I would call like the main engine of the deck, the BAVSARGRA engine of the deck, you are running 3 Persona Rides. You're running 3 Persona Rides because it's just very important that you get that soul. The 10k to the front row is nice, but soul is just very important. I don't have a lot of ways to soul charge consistently in this deck, so Persona Rides just kind of help you get you there sometimes, and that extra card draw is nice. We are running 1 Shield. Shield is the card that I usually search off of the ride line, unless like I opened with I opened with Shield, then I search the sword, but more often than not, you're searching for the Shield. And then I run 2 Sword, and I run 4 Spear. Now, the reason that I am running 2 sword instead of 1 sword, like I know some people run 1 sword and 1 gun, is the reason I'm actually running 2 swords is I want to see the sword. Like because like this version of the deck is very counterblast heavy, so soul blasting to equip is actually like, it very much helps the deck do what it wants to do, which is superior call the grade 1 or less from the drop zone to get your plays going. Also, the damage ability of the sword is also very nice to get off to. So that's another reason why I'm running 2 swords instead of 1 sword. Even though I know technically it's searchable, but most of the time you're searching for this. So I feel like running 1 of this is just, it's really not necessary. Like, I want to see it at least once, so that's why I bumped it up to 2. And then, of course, the 4 Trick Moons. There's really no reason to run less than 4. You really want to max out on this card. Like, there have been so many games, like, I run this at 4 and I just don't see it. And it's just it's very important that you do see this card, because this is your counter charge engine. This is your main booster. This is what helps you win the game. So that's why you're maxing out on 4. And this is the main engine of the deck. This is the arms card engine of the deck. And I'm not running the grade 3 that lets you equip from the drop zone or from your hand. And I'm not running the grade 2 that lets you discard and draw a card, discard an arm, draw a card against 5k. Like I said, I'm trying to run a version of the deck that gives me like a more better chance of winning, a more like the grade 3 is very good, but there was like so many times that I felt like it was a useless card in hand in multiples. So I was just trying to like fix the problems of this deck. Well, it has a very strong Vanguard column. I want to make very strong threatening rear guards, because how else am I going to win the game? You know what I mean? If they keep PGing the Vanguard and I don't check the overtrigger, how do I win the game? That was basically my question, and that's what prompted me to build this version of the deck. Now let me see here. So I can put both these versions side by side. How does that look? I'm going to move it down a little bit. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's fine. Anyways, on to the 12 card Overdress engine of the deck. I am running Overdress cards in this deck. for the sole reason I'm running Overdress cards in this deck is I'll start off with the Overdress units. I'm running 4 copies of Verena Valiente. Now, the reason that I'm running Verena Valiente is because technically this is a 3-attack deck unless Valiente hits. If Valiente hits, you pitch a card to restand it. So this basically makes it to whereas I have a threatening restanding rearguard along with my threatening Vanguard that most likely has a crit and is swinging for a large number. So this just makes it to whereas it gives me another opportunity to close the game besides my Vanguard hitting them for that 2 damage is what I mean. Or my Vanguard taking away all their shield. So that's why we're maxing out at 4 copies of this. I thought about playing Expecta, but the reason that I wasn't playing Expecta is because Expecta can only overdress on a unit that's already overdressed. Like, it makes bigger numbers, yes, but this can go on top of a base Trickstar, 18 in front of base Trickstar, become 18k. With Persona becomes 28k. With this boost, 18 plus 25, that's 43. Becomes 43 on hit restand. So that's why we're maxing out on 4 copies of that card. That's basically the whole idea of splashing the Overdress engine in this deck is him. And then for the secondary card that we are running 4 copies of Verena Arcs. The reason that we're running Verena Arcs is there's no better card to overdress on top of than Arcs because it's an on-place ability. It's not a static ability like regular Verena. It's not a static ability like Urger. This is the best card, in my opinion, to overdress on top of because it's an on-place draw 2 and get +5. And the +5 only lasts till the end of turn. So besides that, it's a vanilla 10k, which is the best for him to overdress on top of because now he becomes base 23k on both opponents' turns. So that's why we are running 4 copies of that. The card draw is also very nice and does help you see your Trick Moons, does help you see your armed cards, your Persona rides. It just helps you in that sense. A friend of mine, he loves Verena. Like, Verena's like his main deck in Overdress, and he calls this card Pot of Greed. Like, and he is correct. In the Nirvana version of this deck, when you superior call the Trickstar and then you overdress on top of that, that is Pot of Greed. But for me, because most of the time, let me just lay out the Trickstars. Because most of the time I'm hard calling the Trickstar from hand, it's not actually Pot of Greed, it's an Allure of Darkness. Little Yu-Gi-Oh jokes. If you guys don't play Yu-Gi-Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a little side note to the video. But this is like the 12 card engine that I am running in the deck to help me, like I said, I felt like I was missing a secondary good card to run in this deck that I could superior call off of BAVSARGRA. Now I feel like I don't have that now. Now I feel like I could superior call Trickstar. I could overdress on top of Trickstar. I could draw 2 cards. I could overdress on Trickstar, have on hit pressure. When your Vanguard already has the on hit pressure of ping you for 2 damage. And also the sword can quite easily put your opponent to 5, put your opponent to 4. And then what me and my friends call the Yu-Yu combo is, you have Valiente. You have Valiente on rear guard. The other rear guard can be anything else, and you check a critical trigger. You put the crit on the other rear guard. You give the power to Valiente. They're at 4 damage. It's basically if they don't have enough cards in hand, it's basically the same thing, no matter what. Like, if they take the 2 damage, they die. If they take the Valiente, it restands. They die. So that's another cool thing. Of course, like, it requires a critical trigger, but that's like another cool thing that you can do with the deck. And 4 PGs, really nothing much to say there. And moving on to the triggers, you're running 4 heal triggers. I am maxing out on the critical triggers because, like I said, I do want to pull off the Yu-Yu combo. But I am maxing out on the critical triggers, and then I am running 3 draws I was running fronts for like the longest time, but a thing that I was realizing is that this deck really doesn't draw cards. It doesn't really draw cards outside of, arcs. It doesn't really draw cards outside of the spear. But the spear really isn't like, it's not like a plus. It's really much more of like a filter. And because like I realize this deck really doesn't draw cards, I feel like the draw triggers are needed, and you can get away without running the front. You can get away without needing the shield, because you do have the shield to give you that extra 10k power. And then I am running the over trigger for Dragon Empire. It's just the best over trigger for this deck. Like, this deck is what made the Dragon Empire over trigger scary. The fact that you could swing for 48 2 crit without Persona Ride, and then restand 100 million 2 crit. This can close games by itself. So that's the reason why we are running the over trigger for Dragon Empire. It's just very obvious, no brainer. And that's essentially the profile. Give us a like, comment, subscribe down below. Let me know if you want to see match videos of this deck. A friend of mine, he has the exact same deck, or like close to the exact same list, so we could get match videos in, or anything else you guys want to see from me in the future. Anyways, bye.